Hey, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box Podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And this is episode 394.
Yay!
Hey, you lot, welcome back to another episode. We hope you've had a cracking week and that you've all managed to do something Doctor Who related. Got to get in there
you
quick.
Were quick in with it. You were like grease lightning there.
Indeedy. Yeah. I can't let you win all the time.
No.
Crikey.
God.
There's no fun in that.
No.
So 394 is upon us. Welcome to new listeners, old grizzled ancients. Welcome back, everybody. We've got a wee bit of chat around the couple of new trailers that dropped for the upcoming season 1, and no other news. It's been very quiet, and even the April Fool's news was lackluster this year. No.
Anything trick you?
Not really, dude. No. What about you? Did you?
Out?
Sorry?
And nothing caught you out?
Do you know what? Sometimes there is the odd story that will do that. There's the odd little nugget of something. And I'll think to myself, don't fall for it. Don't click the link and read it. It sounds, I don't know. I'll click the link and read it. And then it's like, yeah, you fell for that one. But no, nothing this year, dude. I think the most outlandish thing that I saw this year was, I can't remember what website it was from. Saying that Ncuti Gatwa had left unexpectedly after 2 seasons and Matt Smith was coming back as the 16th year or something. And I was like, oh, no, I'm not going to fall for it. So I didn't even read the link. I knew that was garbage, that one. But did you see anything funny?
Well, no, because I'm 6 hours behind you and the cutoff is 12 o'clock in it. So is it 12? When you're supposed to, you can't post anything after 12, otherwise it doesn't count. Mm-hmm. So because of the time difference, I was sort of cautious of everything. Because I was like, well, I don't know if these are old tweets that I'm seeing. This could be a lie. So it was quite difficult for me. The only thing that I thought was great, but I was like, as soon as I read it, I was like, yeah, that's such an obvious April Fool's, was Colt Edge tweeted and said after, I don't know, 20, 30 something years, Blake 7 magazine is coming back. And I was like, yeah, good one, Colt Edge. Yeah. And they were like, no, this isn't an April Fool. And I was still like, yeah, come on. As if. But apparently they are. It's not an April Fool. So the April Fool that I thought, yeah, I'm not falling for that, has turned out to be true. And I still don't believe it. I'm even hesitant saying it now. And even yesterday when I retweeted it, I then went back and checked. I was like, are they being truthful or is this a lie? Mm-hmm. But apparently it's true. So Blake 7 magazine is coming back. Blake. So I think they chose to do that purposely on April Fool's, thinking people would think it was an April Fool's. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't. So that was cool. But no, nothing else caught me out. Some of them were ridiculous. But I agree with you. They're a bit lackluster this year. They're all a bit too obvious.
They were a bit. That's the thing. If you want to do a well disguised April Fool's thing, you have to sort of not go too far with it, not too outlandish, not too out there.
Didn't the BBC Shop do one a few years ago, saying they put up a pre-order for like Marco Polo or something on the store, or like a blank square saying coming soon Doctor Who Marco Polo DVD or something?
Oh, no, I don't remember that.
I think they did. Someone out there will know. I think that was a real thing that they did, and everyone was like, "Oh, I can't use expletive language on this podcast." But let's just put this. There was a lot of expletive language.
I can imagine. Yeah, that's savage. That one.
Or maybe they tweeted it or something. I'm sure that happened, but I don't know. Someone out there will know.
That's actually a mean one as well, isn't it? That's
cruel.
That's a cruel one. Yeah, funny though. But But
Yeah.
Crikey. Yeah. So no getting duped by the old April Fool stuff this year. However, it would be cool to have Matt back for at least a guest. He's holding out, I'm sure, for like the 70th anniversary or something. He's going to leave a decent gap, I think, before he comes back.
As he is one of my sort of favourite doctors, if not the. I love Matt. I'd love to see him come back, and I think especially as he's sort of a bit older now and he's matured and he looks a bit more weathered. I just think he would. Oh God, it would be so good to see him back. I really hoped he would be part of the 60th, although the 60th took a completely different direction in the end to what we're all expecting. I'd just love to see him back, even if it's for like one episode.
Yes, that's what I mean. Even if he came back just for like the 70th special, just put the coat back on and the bow tie, and it'd be so cool.
That's what I kept waiting for in the trailers. Every time they teased the 60th trailer, I was just waiting for a little bow tie to be straight and think, yeah, there he is. He's in it.
Oh,
but
mate.
Not to be. Come back, Matt.
We love Matt. We love Matt Smith as a doctor, don't we?
He's a dude. Yeah, he's an absolute dude.
Oh, dude. The 11th hour as well. What a story to come in on.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Anyway.
It's a banger.
Anyway, talking of wanting things to pop up in the trailer, etc. We had a couple of trailers land, didn't we, over the last few days or last week? Yeah. We had a trailer that just said Doctor Who official trailer, and we thought that was okay, very cool. And then we had the other one labeled Doctor Who trailer number 2. So we had a double whammy of trailers. Now, so both trailers to me were slightly different in that the first one I felt was very just top level, if that makes sense. It's just a very, very quick little flavour of more so the feeling of the upcoming season and, what sort of vibe that's going to be. The second trailer, it seemed to focus a little bit more on some of the deeper conversations that we're going to see between him and Ruby and, some other people. So it dived into, it felt like it had a slightly darker vibe, that second trailer. Like, because the first definitely. One had, like the music in the first one was very upbeat and it was very happy-go-lucky and a lot of Shooty smiling and winking and, doing all that stuff. But then the second one, it had a couple little bits, but more so it was I don't think a lot of these stories are going to be all going his way, put it that way. He's going to come up against some real problems and challenges there. So 2 very cool trailers, dude. What did you think to them?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And actually, I preferred the second trailer, to be honest with you, because I think that's the thing with the first trailer. It was all very, it looked a lot of fun. But what I like about Doctor Who trailers is they normally have that bam, 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 fun, fun, fun. And then there's sort of the music stops. And then there's like the doctor gives a look or says something and it goes serious and you're like, whoa. And that was sort of missing from the first trailer, which is why I think I slightly preferred the second one, because when we got to that bit where Shooty says something about, shatter this battlefield into dust in a heartbeat or something, I thought, that's kind of the moment I was sort of waiting for in the first trailer, where everything just stops and you're like, uh-oh. It looked fun all the way through, but something serious is kicked off. So, but they were 2 good trailers, mate. I have to say they look absolutely phenomenal in terms of production values. They're really slick. They look a lot of fun. I think Ruby and the Doctor and Ruby seem like they're going to have really fun chemistry. But I did prefer the second one. I can't put my finger on it. But something about the first trailer, it left me feel a bit disconnected. And I can't put my finger on why, because it had everything. But I just watched it a couple of times and I thought, I don't know, I'm just not feeling anything. It's amazing. It looks fun. It looks visually brilliant. But every time I sort of stopped watching it, I was like, but I don't have that buzz that I feel that I should have from watching it, because it looks incredible. The second trailer, although it was very similar, it sort of, I think maybe because it had that quieter moment, actually had the effect I wanted it to. But you combine the 2 trailers together, mate, and I think They're two very, very good trailers. I love the use of the Bowie track in the first one as well.
Yeah, that was cool.
Changes. I swear I've had that in my head ever since. I'll be like doing my teeth going, changes. And, it's a really cool, the way they've mixed it in with the sort of instrumental music and it just drifts in. So I loved that about the first trailer. But yeah, both of them, very, very good trailers, mate. And as I said, I don't know what it was about the first one that it didn't get me. It didn't fire up my enthusiasm as much as I thought it should. The second one kind of cemented that for me. I was watching it just before I recorded and I thought, yeah, there's so much in there. This looks like a lot of fun this season.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool. They did their job. I think the first one was more, I wrote down it was very Disney, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just felt like the first one, if you watch it, it's almost like they are starting afresh. They're kind of introducing the Doctor. This is a TARDIS. I'm the Doctor. But it's kind of very much aimed towards, if you haven't seen Doctor Who before, I'm the Doctor. This is the TARDIS. This is Ruby. And it's all that kind of thing. And maybe that's why it didn't quite sort of connect to me the first time. The second trailer is very much your sort of standard Doctor Who. Right, let's go. This is what you're getting. Dinosaurs, unit, Mel, action, fun. Serious bits about the planets being destroyed. So that to me feels more like the Doctor Who trailers we used to. And maybe that's why I prefer it. But gotcha. So they're sort of similar trailers, but I think with different agendas in a way, those two trailers.
Gotcha. Yeah, it makes sense, dude. Yeah. And very, very much the same feeling on those as well. It's, it just seemed a bit more balanced, that second trailer, because it had some of the funny sort of smiley bits as well, with the space babies and, those
the space
cute little bits and stuff like that. But then, like you said, we have the serious tone with some of the scenes, and so it's definitely got me hyped for what's to come. Put it that way. So I think I'm not sure if we'll get another trailer now before the thing starts. I think to put another trailer out would probably reveal a bit more than what they would want to, because we've got lots of little nuggets in these two. My guess is that we might get a scene. So instead of a trailer, we might get a conversation scene between two people that leaves you on a bit of a cliffhanger or something like that. But so this is probably the last couple of proper trailer material we'll get before the new season starts in a couple of months. Is it a couple of months, month and a half, something like that?
I kind of hope it is actually, because I feel like there's so much in them, right? I mean, I was watching them both before we started recording. They are just jam-packed with things. And I kind of feel like we're already seeing quite a lot. So, when they release pictures of Shooty in the blue suit and we know that Unit's coming back, I feel like we're already starting to know just a little bit too much. So I don't really want another trailer, as bizarre as that sounds, because I'm not getting bored, per se, of seeing the same old things. But, when I first watched the trailer one, I was a bit like, yeah, it looks great. But, yeah, Unit's back. We know that. Shoot in the blue suit, seen that 100 times. The TARDIS console looks great. Seen it a million times already. So I feel like, this series, because it's been filmed so far in advance, we already know a lot of stuff about it. And we've already seen a lot of these images, even if it's just photographs of like some of these scenes. So I feel like, don't need to see any more now. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's just hold off another couple of weeks. And I think your idea of just releasing maybe a little scene is perfect. Just another little maybe breadcrumb to go, oh, that's good. But don't show us any more. And certainly don't keep showing us the same thing, because it's, Unit, great. Mel, great. Shooting blue suit, great. But we're seeing too much of it. And it's going to feel stale by the time it hits the screen if we just keep seeing those same things. So,
yeah. No, I agree, dude. But nonetheless, it's a couple of good trailers, and we're on our way.
We're on our way, all right.
To a kind of weird reboot of, I don't want to go down that road again, but slightly weird reboot in terms of series and season numbers and everything. So that will be interesting to see how they do that with all the packaging for Blu-rays and whatnot, because now we're going to go through another round of, do you remember when Jodie's era started? And we went from the logo that we'd had for years that was very cool. I still love that logo. And then, because there was two versions, wasn't there? There was the classic logo that you'd have on things like Big Finish and some of the toys and whatnot, anything that was classic Who, basically. And then you had the logo that they had changed throughout each Doctor's era. So Chris Eccleston one and David Tennant's was that kind of sort of gold looking, I don't know what shape you'd call it, like a sideways frisbee kind of thing. And then we had Matt Smith's logo for felt like donkey's years, the D and the W together that make up the shape of the TARDIS and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, but it was cool because when they started doing the anything that was classic, like I said, you had that old logo. And then when Jodie's era hit, we had that new logo. And then they started putting that on all the classic stuff, didn't they? So now we've got these big special edition Blu-ray box sets of the classic era stuff that have got the newer Doctor Who Jodie era logo on. Are they going to continue with those? Or are we going to have...
I believe so.
Or, because, I don't know. Because we've had this before. Remember we spoke about this at length on one of our podcasts when they decided to do this. It was like, well, how long is that going to last? Because we know that when the Beeb changed the logo and everything, for the sake of consistency, we're starting to see the same logo on everything. So if they now start rolling out new merchandise and Blu-rays and everything with this new, it's like an old classic style diamond, isn't it, for this moving forward?
Oh, I love it. The silver color diamond logo. Yeah.
It's very cool.
I hope that's what, yeah.
But now it seems weird to have anything new with the Jodie's logo on anything. So I hope they don't change it, mate, because if they start putting the newer logo on like the remaining 10 or 12 box sets that we've got to come, that's going to, like you, my OCD is just going to jump out the window, I think.
They wouldn't dare, mate. They wouldn't dare. But no, it would be annoying. They could have avoided all of this. All they had to do, I should have been in the BBC production meeting at the time. It was so simple. All you had to do was put the relevant logo to the relevant Doctor on the blimmin' box. So if it's the first Doctor, put his logo on it. If it's the seventh Doctor, put his logo on it.
Oh, gotcha.
That would have just, and it would, people, okay, so the logos wouldn't have matched on the spine, but they would have matched the Doctor in his era, and that would have just solved all your problems. But no, instead we're stuck with the Twiglet logo on all of them now.
I love that, the Twiglet logo.
That's what I call it, the Twiglet logo. But yeah, they could have avoided it, but they didn't. So no sympathy for them.
Oh dear. Anyway, that's we've got that to come.
Yeah, I was just scrabbling around on my phone just then, but I can't find it now. I was looking for the episode titles because I wanted to just get your opinion on them, but I can't find it. I had a screenshot of all the titles, but I can't find it now. That's why I was looking down just then. I was like, where's that picture? But anyway, off the bat, mate, from the episode titles that were released, did anything jump out at you? Was there anything you liked or didn't like? Or
I can't remember what they were.
No, nor can I. That's what I thought. I bet you thought I wasn't listening to you because I was looking down where you were talking. I was like, where's that picture? But I can't find it now. Because obviously Space Babies is the first episode, right? Which is a weird title. I'm not going to lie. I don't like it, but, it's intriguing. Then you've got The Devil's Chord, I think, which I love the sound of that. That's a great title, The Devil's Chord. I can't remember what's after that.
After that is an episode called Boom.
Oh, Boom, yeah.
Boom. Yep. Then
that's the Stephen Moffat one, is it?
That's the Moffat one, yeah. And then 73 Yards, which is another
intriguing.
Yeah, RTD story. Then something called Dot and Bubble.
Dot and Bubble.
Which is an RTD story again. He's writing a lot in this first.
He is doing a lot in series one, isn't he? Yeah.
Yep. Then we've got an episode called Rogue. That sounds very cool, actually. Then we've got The Legend of Ruby Sunday. And then we've got the last one, which is Empire of Death.
Empire of Death.
Yeah. So out of those, mate, I think The Devil's Chord sounds very cool. And Rogue. Those two, to me, stand out as a couple of episodes that could... Obviously, you have no idea based on just the title, but they just sound intriguing to me.
Yeah, that's right. Because I mean, this is the thing, right? I don't like the sound of the title, The Space Babies, but I'm not going to judge the episode on it. I know there's been a lot of people kicking off on Twitter because if you say you don't like the title, it means also it just doesn't grab me as a title. Whereas stuff like The Devil's Chord and Dot and Bubble intrigues me. Dot and Bubble really intrigues because it makes me think of Bubble and Squeak. So No, Dot and Bubble intrigues me as a title. Boom seems a bit bland, but okay. What was the other ones?
The other one was The Legend of Ruby Sunday.
Yeah,
and
could be good. Yeah.
73 Yards and Empire of
I
Death.
like the sound of that. I like the sound of 73 Yards. That's a cool title. So yeah.
We shall see, man. We shall see. But 11th of May is when this all kicks off. Will I say it?
Go on.
At midnight.
Yeah. Boo! Hiss!
In the UK, at midnight on the iPlayer.
Boo.
Anyway, 11th of May. So yeah, it's literally just under a month, isn't it? A month and a week. Cool.
It is. I have to ask you, are you going to be staying up at midnight to watch them, or will you just get up and put it on?
Yeah, I'm going to stay up for the first one.
Are you?
At midnight, just because of the novelty factor, mate, more than anything. Just to, not because I want to stay up at midnight and watch Doctor Who. That sounds crazy, as a big Doctor Who fans that we are. It's not that I just don't want to stay up until midnight the whole season and watch them all.
Oh, no, definitely not, no.
Yeah, but I will, because what day of the week is the 11th? Oh, it's a Saturday, of course. Saturday. So, yeah, I mean, I'll stay up just for the first one because I assume that many people in the UK will be staying up because it's the first episode of a brand new season, of a brand new Doctor, of a brand new era and everything. So just to be, I don't know what the word is, just to join in nationally with lots of Who fans staying up for the excitement and the novelty factor. So I'll do the first one, and then after that I'll just watch it when I wake up the next morning, because I assume rightly or wrongly, because it does say that it lands at midnight on iPlayer and then it goes out later on in the day on BBC One.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that when it lands at midnight, that's not your only opportunity to watch it. It will just be on iPlayer from that point on. So if you wake up at 10 o'clock the next morning, it will be there on iPlayer, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I would have thought
Do you know
so.
what I mean? It will just be there. So, just with, cup of tea, bit of brekkie, tea and toast. I'll watch the other ones. But so you'll be here in the UK as well, won't you, at this point? I think.
I will be, yeah.
No,
I must admit, I was...
No, you won't.
Yeah, I will be back.
Oh,
yeah, I
you will?
I'm back.
Oh, right,
I'm back the week before I come back. So
same question to you then. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't really... when they announced this, I was thinking, I'm not going to stay up till midnight to watch it. I'll just watch it when I get up in the morning. Because I must admit, I didn't really like the idea. I wasn't throwing my toys out the pram about it, but I was like, oh no. Because I do like the idea of everyone watching it together at a certain time. But I'm now thinking, normally when I'm back, I do get really bad jet lag for at least 5 to 10 days. I was terrible jet lag last time I come back. So the chances are, I'll be up anyway.
Oh, yeah, you will be.
I'm not even joking. Yeah, the last time I come back to the UK after being here, I was sort of, it was about 3 a.m. seemed to be the time when I'd finally get off to sleep. So I'll probably be up. So I probably will watch it at midnight, yeah. And I think you're right. Even though we're not going to sit down at 6 p.m. before Eurovision to watch it, there will be like a huge section of fandom all tuning in at midnight to watch it. So you do kind of still get that thing of feeling like you're part of something, actually, which is the only reason that it bugged me that they were doing it this way, because I thought it kind of took that away, that we're not experiencing it all together, we'll be at different times. But yeah, you're right, there'll still be a huge portion of people that will stay out to midnight to watch it. So I probably will, mate, yeah. And then I'll probably watch it again before Eurovision. So, because for me, and I don't care, everyone out, you can all laugh and throw your rotten tomatoes at me, I love Eurovision, and I am looking Doctor Who and Eurovision on the same day. I will be in heaven, so I won't be leaving the house. I should be watching Doctor Who, followed by Eurovision. Yeah,
there'll be some alcohol in the house, won't there? At that point, some snacks.
Oh yeah, there will.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so it's a great day for me. It's worth coming back to the UK for.
Rightio. So yeah, for me, the first one, dude, definitely. Midnight job,
yeah.
just for the beeps and giggles, just to see what all the fuss is about, staying up at midnight. And then the other ones, I'll just catch them whenever.
You won't be able to resist it'll say next episode loading in 5 seconds. You know, you'll just let it load. You know you will.
Nah. Well, they're not all dropping at once, are they?
And then you'll go to bed and your blanket and pillow will be outside the door, bedroom door. You're like, stay out.
Oh, yeah, because my wife, she absolutely won't stay up
to
watch these. No, she doesn't even watch them.
Sofa.
Yeah, anyway. Even when I go at regular time, she's not fussed these days. So
you'll be sleeping on the sofa that night, mate.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, season 1 drops the 11th of May, as I'm sure you know already, dear listener. And we will be covering those, of course, as they go out. We'll give you our thoughts and reviews. And that's a good little segue into a little gentle nudge and reminder to make sure that you are following and subscribing to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. Just do a search for the Big Blue Box podcast. You'll find us on all of the podcast apps and networks, everything. That way you won't miss an episode because we put them out every single Friday. And we also have a monthly episode called The Round Table where we draft in our writing team and we all just have a good old chinwag and chat about Doctor Who. And that the Round Table for April is due out week after next, I believe. So make sure you're following so you don't miss that either. And you can also listen on the website as well. So if you work in front of a computer a lot and you've got access to headphones or whatever, and you want to listen to something cool while you're working, you can do that in your browser over at bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. And while you're there, you can also listen, so you can read all of the reviews and articles and editorial pieces from said writing team. Those guys are very cool. We've got a whole raft of Big Finish reviews dropping over the next few days, next week, from our reviewer Jordan. Plus we've got like event roundups from Maria and editorials from Harry and Matt, and it's all very cool stuff over there. So bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk, and there are also links to the socials. So give us a link, a like and a follow on those as we chat Doctor Who throughout the week. And we have a very cool free Discord server as well. So drop in there and chat lots of Doctor Who with other Who fans. And just quickly, lastly, it would be remiss.
Don't forget to remember.
Yeah, you can't forget that. You cannot forget to remember.
I want a t-shirt with that on. Don't forget to remember. And then on the back, the Geeks handbag.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, my wife was walking past my office as I was recording, by the way, and afterwards she's like, by the way, that's terrible English. You saying, don't forget. So I had this kind of smug face. I was like, that's actually very intentional. I slipped up one time and now we just say it because it's funny. And she just went like face like it's not funny. It's like,
well, I love it. Yeah, don't forget to remember to check out my YouTube channel, The Geeks Handbag.
Geeks Handbag. Yeah.
And I'm also on all the socials.
Yes, go and do that stuff.
There you go.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Okay, we've waffled for long enough. Let's get into our review this week. What is it, bud?
Yeah, third Doctor action this week with the Spearhead from space.
It started, hasn't it?
Yes. Window dummies coming alive.
It's happened!
Do you seriously expect me to believe that?
Early this morning, a shower of about 50 meteorites landed in Essex.
6 months ago, a smaller shower of meteorites, about 5 or 6, landed in the same area.
That's impossible. The odds against 2 lots of meteorites landing in exactly the same place must be incredible.
They are, I'm sure. They are.
Since the unit was formed, there have been 2 attempts to invade this planet. We had help from a scientist.
You really believe in a man who's helped to save the world twice? With the power to transform his physical appearance?
I'm not sure yet. It may not be the same man.
An alien who travels through time and space in a police box?
Is it true there's a man from space in there?
Nonsense. I don't know where you get the stories.
We heard there's something odd about it.
Creatures. Made in the factory. We shall activate them all tonight. Destroy. Total destruction.
Total destruction.
That sound effect is so cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spearhead from space, dude. What a story. We've not spoke about this one for many years, partly because on our spreadsheet where we have our plan for all of the stories that we've reviewed and stuff to review, Spearhead was always left at the bottom of the pile for the third Doctor because I had reviewed that or gone over it very briefly by myself before Adam joined the podcast many moons ago. So back on episode 2, on the 11th of April, 2014.
Cool.
I don't know what, dude, that episode, I'm just looking through, because in the show notes that I used to do for those episodes, I fleshed out a bit more detail back in the day. And the news that was happening back there in Doctor Who is, it's just very bizarre to look back on it, to think that, so unfortunately a couple of people had passed away at that point. So Kate O'Mara had just passed away, and Glyn Jones as well had just passed away. And then the other news was that Mark Gatiss had been commissioned to write 2 episodes of an upcoming Doctor Who series that we didn't know what was going to be about. One of them was for Series 8 and the other one was for something else. Forbidden Planet had released a brand new line of Doctor Who t-shirts for like Capaldi based specific designs and all that stuff. And then a brand new Doctor Who soundtrack box set had just been announced that was going to go pre-orders on the 25th of April. And it was the 50th anniversary. It was going to come in a special limited edition TARDIS case.
Oh my God, I've got that.
You've got that, yeah. So that was all happening back then. That was all the cool stuff. And then in that episode, it was the very first person I ever interviewed. It was a guy called Neil Perryman. And he had just brought a book out called Adventures with the Wife in Space. Where
it's a good book.
The premise is he basically tries to get his wife to watch every single episode of Doctor Who. And it's all about their adventures together and her views on Doctor Who. And it's a fantastic book. I've read it every now and then. Once every few years, I'll pick it up off the shelf and read it. And interestingly, dude, he did another one called Adventures with the Wife and Blake.
Blake, I know.
So that's right.
Blake.
Oh, Neil, you were such a legend back then, because I
have both books.
Yeah, I was a fresh podcaster back then. this was the very first thing I'd ever done in podcasting. And it was only the second episode. So Neil could have very easily turned around and said, your show is like a nothing at the minute. But he was very gracious with his time and stuff. And then I got on to talking about Spearhead from Space. I called it the classic story retrospective back then. And, oh man. So yeah, that was, what a little time capsule.
It's like a little time capsule. It's so cool.
Oh, nearly 10 years ago. Anyway, just to, that was a little divergent there. But anyway, Spearhead from Space. Let's get back to business. Adam and I are both reviewing this now together. It was first broadcast back on the 3rd of January, 1970. It's a 4-parter, and the last part went out on the 24th of January. It was written by Robert Holmes, overseen by Terence Dix, and directed by Derek Martinus. It stars John Pertwee as the Doctor, Caroline John as Liz Shaw, and then we've got Nick Courtney as the Brigadier, and then a bunch of other supporting cast members. And then the synopsis is: forbidden to continue travelling the universe by his own people, the Time Lords, and exiled to Earth in the late 20th century, the newly regenerated Doctor in Oxley Woods, accompanied by a shower of mysterious meteorites, investigating the occurrence in the UN Intelligence Task Force, UNIT for short, an organisation which had previously been associated with the Doctor during the Cybermen's invasion. Led as before by Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, UNIT is soon in action when people and meteorites start going missing. Most puzzling is the attempted kidnapping of a strange hospital patient, a man with 2 hearts, who insists that he knows the Brigadier. The new Doctor soon joins forces with his old friend, with UNIT, and the recently recruited Dr. Elizabeth Shaw, but time is running out. Irregular things are happening at a nearby plastics factory, while faceless creatures lurk in the woods. The Nestines have landed a spearhead force and plan to conquer the country by substituting plastic Auton replicas for men and women in key government and military posts.
Wow.
So a decent synopsis there, dude, on that one.
Very decent.
Okay, Spearhead from Space. What are your thoughts on this story, bud?
I was going to do the old classic, pretending I didn't like it, and then being like, but look, I'm just going to cut to the chase. This is a stone cold classic. It's a great story. I've watched it many times. I always enjoy it. I think it's a fantastic start to Pertwee's era. I can only imagine what it was like seeing this back in 1970, to see Doctor Who in colour for the first time, although I appreciate not everyone would have even had a color TV back then. So some people would have still been watching this in black and white, I guess. Even though it was, those lucky enough to afford a color television in the 70s would have been watching it in glorious color. And it looks so great because, of course, it's all filmed on film as well, and all on location pretty much, isn't it? The whole thing's so the quality of the production looks great. The story's good. Pertwee is instantly the Doctor once he gets over his post-regeneration from episode 3 when he gets out of the hospital. He's absolutely straight into the part. I love it. The Autons are creepy, proper scary. It's just a banger, mate. It's a great story. And I'm not going to pretend otherwise. I really like it. What does astound me about it, though, is this aired less than a year after the War Games, which is another great story. I love the War Games, but it just amazes me the difference in filming, editing, and style between the War Games, which still feels very 60s in the way it's, directed, and quite the pacing is slow. And none of this I mean is a negative. I'm just saying as in comparisons to this feels like it was about a good 5 years after that. It's in color, the editing is slick, the direction, the way the cameras are moving around, filming people. It just feels like such a leap forward in production values. And as I said, this is not taking anything away from the War Games. I just mean if you put them side by side, to think they were aired less than a year apart, they just look so different in style. This feels so much more modern and action-packed and quick-paced and exciting. I just think anybody watching this back in the day would have been absolutely blown away by it, I would have thought. Mm-hmm. But it's a good story, mate. I think it stands up incredibly well, even though you could say it's of its time in many ways as well, because everybody is terribly posh and British in it, and the way they speak, and some of the characters and the sort of the style of the clothes and stuff. Yes, it feels very sort of late 60s, early 70s. So it does still feel dated in that way, but yeah, that doesn't detract from it, I don't think. I think it holds up very well as a story. Yeah, and you're absolutely right, dude. It's just an absolute banger of a story, right? I mean, considering, because we've had this a couple of times before. And what I mean by that is we've had this where you have a doctor come in, and the perfect example for me in terms of modern Doctor Who is Matt Smith, where I'm not saying the other doctors haven't had great initial stories and stuff, but it felt like just the energy and the just absolutely out the traps, in 6th, 7th gear, let alone 5th gear. It's a bit like that, with Matt. This story reminds me just how much of an explosion Matt Smith came on the scene when he was the Doctor. Like I said, the other Doctors were still cool, and this is the same sort of thing. It's like when you watch this story, you assume, if you've not seen any other classic Doctor Who, that John Pertwee had been the Doctor for years. Mm-hmm. Not that this was his very first story. It's incredible to a degree because there's just no warm up. There's no it's not like with some doctors. It's like, especially if there's a doctor that's been has been in a fairly long era, and then you start having conversations on the lines of, oh yeah, it was really cool those first couple of series, but then they didn't really get going much in that other series and stuff like that. You just would assume watching this that Pertwee had already gone through those ups and downs, and now he's found his feet, and he was rocking and rolling as the Doctor. So, it's going to be a bit of a love letter, I think, to this story from both of us, because there's just so many. It's one of those stories where the stars aligned for a lot of stuff, mate, because you have a really cool cast in the supporting roles for it, even though some of them are a little bit cheesy, and there's a couple of cheesy bits here and there, but and then you've got the location stuff, like you said. There's none of that sort of echoey set vibe and the weird kind of color little gremlins that you have with certain like bright lights that move across the screen in a studio environment and stuff.
And then because they filmed it all on film stock rather than TV tapes and stuff, it just looks. I watched this on my. I pulled out the old the Blu-ray for it, and even now, I watch it and I think this just is it's beautiful to watch
It is.
From a visual perspective. So all these things sort of come together to make his first story just a delight to watch, and it's not overly paddy in the middle like some stories are. It's got that sweet spot for a 4-parter where sometimes when you get into episode 3 you think, okay, we're plodding a bit here and padding, but it doesn't feel like that. It's still got that big build up to what's going to happen, because there's no massive, other than when the Doctor's getting strangled by the giant tentacle Nestine in the fish tank. Other than that bit, there's no real big car chase, there's no big fight scene or anything, but it just feels like its momentum's carrying nicely through it. And then the final episode is you do get that build up to what's going on. And dude, it's such a good story, isn't it? So I can already tell what our scores are going to be, but yeah. So this is the first outing, right, for the Autons, I believe.
Yes, it will be.
Yeah. So what do you reckon to those guys then as monsters? Because at this point, obviously going through Hartnell and Troughton, we've already gone through the big ones. We've already gone through the Daleks, Cybermen and stuff. So in your opinion, a decent decision not to go with a big one like that and just create something new that to get their teeth into? Or would you rather have seen like a Dalek story to kick off with or something like that?
No, I think the Autons are fantastic, mate. I think they're really creepy and they're so simple as well. They're just in the blue boiler suit, most of them, with this quite basic mask, isn't it? But something about them and the way they move and the hand opening up with the gun in it, they just are properly scary. I mean, I absolutely love the shootout on Ealing High Street in episode 4. I always cannot wait for that moment, when they come alive in the shop window. It is absolutely iconic, that those sort of 4 or 5 minutes, just everything going on and the music as well. I've seen it 100 times, but I just, even watching it again this week, I was like, oh, it's coming up, it's part 4, it's the bit in the window. I think they stand up ever so well as a monster, well, not monster, as a foe, if you like. It is a shame. I've always, like, the bit with the tentacles at the end, let's just address it. When I very first watched this, I did think, oh, that's a shame. This has been absolutely like 10 out of 10 all the way up to this point. It is a little bit too comedic. I can totally forgive it. It's because I have to say, when I rewatch this story, I'm talking about the bit where the Nestine is wrapping around the Doctor and Pertwee is doing a lot of his crazy faces. It's not as bad as I always picture it in my mind, but it does let the story. I'm gonna have to knock off like half a point for that. But I don't know what else they could have done there. That's the thing. I totally get that what was on the page, on the script, they had to bring that to life somehow. This is still very early television in terms of that sort of thing. So it's the 1970s. They've got a limited budget. So I can totally get past, that it looks a bit too comedic. But I do remember the first time I watched this thinking, oh, what a shame, because everything up to this point is so scary, like the shootout, the Autons in the factory, everything about them, the bit where the waxworks come alive in Madame Tussauds, as they say, Madame Tussauds. It's just all really great, creepy stuff. And this to me is like classic sci-fi, mate. This is Doctor Who being absolutely classic science fiction.
It's really cool, isn't it? And and this would have gone out at a really good time so viewing figures don't really count for much these days in terms of just, pure TV stuff. But back in the day, in 1970, these would have been everything. Everything would have been based on viewing figures. So consistently, dude, over 8 million views every episode. And this went out on a Friday night. How cool would it have been? Like, your week's over, unless you're going out partying somewhere, your week's over with work, you're getting a takeaway in, a couple of beers, and you're watching Doctor Who, fresh as it goes out on the TV. I mean, how cool that to rewind time, to go, excuse the pun, to go in a time machine and go back to 1970 and watch people watching like a kind of weird pseudo Doctor Who Gogglebox moment, to watch people sat on the sofa watching Doctor Who would have just been so cool, man. So yeah, some decent figures there on a Friday night that it went out.
And a bit of a jump up, because looking at the viewing figures for the War Games, the last episode was 5 million according to Wikipedia. So that's quite a jump up. I guess a new Doctor, people were excited to see him. John Pertwee would have been fairly well known at this stage, wouldn't he? He would have been known as he did a lot of radio stuff back in the day, didn't he? And he was it would have been a household name, right? I assume. I wouldn't say I guess so. Yeah. I mean, would he have been a household name? I'm not sure. So, so we jumped on at Doctor Who in 1970. So before that, he had done a couple of little one-episode stars here and there. So he was in the Avengers for an episode. Because Wurzell's after this, isn't
Wurzell's after, yeah.
This is way after, yeah. So.
Yeah, so Wurzell's after this. And then things like voicing Spotty Man in Super Ted. That's an old classic that went out. So I think Doctor Who propelled him to a household name. But before this, he was certainly known, but just for slightly smaller things here and there.
And much more comedic things, right? Because that's the thing. He always says that when he took on the role of Doctor Who, he wanted to be taken seriously. And I think that's why he hits the ground running. Because he's just like you said, he is taking it very seriously. You can tell. Even the comedic moments that he does, like the stuff with the wheelchair and when the Doctor's in the shower, and he's singing and stuff. It's fun, but he's definitely got his head around the character of the Doctor straight away, hasn't he? That he's this Time Lord, and I love the bit where he tries to escape in the TARDIS. that is so the Doctor in it, just trying to run off and do a runner. He comes out like a scolded child. It's so funny.
Yeah, and do you know what? That's another really cool thing about this episode that I love, or this story, is that instead of just allowing the Doctor to go anywhere in the TARDIS, as is like a new, he's got a new lick of paint, so to speak, new Doctor, once he gets past his kind of, that post-regeneration phase where he's sort of out of it and that sort of thing. It's although he is sneaky, though, in the hospital, he does trick him a little bit. He keeps asking for his shoes and he pretends to be out of it, and then when he turns round, sneakily gets his shoes, gets a TARDIS key out, and then pretends to go back to sleep again. But the cool concept about this story is that he can't go anywhere. Like the Time Lords have grounded him, basically. He has to stay on Earth. He's been exiled, essentially. And he still tries his luck. Like you said, there's that bit where so Liz steals the key, basically, from the brig. The brig's taking the key because he knows the Doctor will leg off. So she steals it, goes in, and then you just see all the smoke come out the TARDIS, and you can hear it sort of wheezing and all that stuff. But that's that concept, though, because this Doctor stays on Earth for quite a while, doesn't he? Until he repairs the TARDIS and whatnot. So, but that's just such an obvious and simple inclusion into this bit of this Doctor's story that it makes a lot of sense, because all of the, apart from some of the wackier stories in the previous two Doctors era, a lot of stuff happens on Earth anyway. So in terms of like a production budgeting point of view, I guess, to make a TV show, if you're setting most of it on Earth, where a lot of your locations don't need to be dressed up as big alien planets, and you're not using a lot of CSO to replicate alien planets and everything, it does make a lot of sense. So for more reasons than one, I love that concept of him being grounded and has to help UNIT and has to continuously try to repair the TARDIS, and that sort of thing. And I think because of that, it really suits John Pertwee's Doctor, because he's always this tinkerer, builder of things, and obviously the reversing of polarity, which happens very, very much for him in future stories. But I love that concept, dude, of him being grounded. It
makes his era quite unique, doesn't it? It really makes his era stand out. And I think this is, you said earlier, that favourite quote of yours, the stars aligned. And I think that's the thing, because I think it was a budgetary decision to make it all be set on Earth, which means they bring UNIT in And Pertwee works so well with Unit and the Brigadier and the companions that he gets and stuff. So everything did start to fall in place. And even the production of this really is a case of the stars aligning, because I think the reason it was all shot on location and it was all shot on film was because there was a strike at the BBC. So they moved production to one of the BBC's other units in Wood Norton. So, you know, that's the reason it's all on film, and that's the reason it's all on location, was because of the strike. So again, everything just seems to be falling in place, and you put John Pertwee in the middle of it, who wants to make this role his own. He's taking it very seriously. It all just comes together and works well. I think if you'd have told me back in the day, if I was sort of a big Doctor Who fan who'd been watching from the start, and I opened up Doctor Who magazine before what season is this, 7? You know, so there's like a preview of season 7 in Doctor Who magazine, and it says Doctor Who is going to be stuck on Earth for this season with, you know, I would have been going, what? No, the Doctor can't be stuck on Earth. He travels in the, you know, but it absolutely works. I'd have been eating my words, because, you know, there are so many good stories during the Pertwee era. And I particularly like season 7, mate. I think it's got its own feel to it. I mean, Inferno wraps up season 7, and that's one of my favourites. Pertwee is on fire in that story. So, you know, this just kicks off a great season, I think, for his Doctor.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Inferno, we love that one, don't we? That's
it's one of my favourites. Absolutely love that story.
Yeah, great. So what a great script in this one as well. So a really cool tag team on this one. So Robert Holmes put the actual script together, and then it was tweaked and edited a little bit by Terence Dix. But those two, just seemed to have a really tight script in this one. There was no, like even some of the sort of lesser characters in it who you don't get a huge amount of screen time, but just the way that their script was written was almost documentary-like in a way. Like an example that comes to mind is the guy that heads into the plastics factory. He was going to be a partner with this guy, Hibbert, who runs the factory. He was going to be his partner, but he turns up and everything's been changed, and he got a letter basically to say, like, you're booted out, mate, you know, because he's been taken over by the Nestines and everything. So when he gets there, he's not having any of it. And then later on, he tries to break back in, finds out that, you know, there's the Autons are after him and stuff. And then he goes to Unit, and he's pretty scared and petrified. So those scenes with that guy in it, it's almost like, you know, it's a documentary where he's being interviewed about this terrible thing that he's witnessed. So the script is, although it's entertaining in some ways, it's also it's an informative script without being boring. And because if you said to somebody, this story is a bit like a documentary, they'd be like, oh, it doesn't sound very good. I don't mean it in that way in which, you know, you expect David Attenborough to start narrating over the top. It's got that kind of first account witness feel to a lot of it, as, you know, other people are talking about stuff. So
also the press as well at the start and all that filming, the brig and all that coming in makes it feel a bit like that, doesn't it? Yeah,
exactly, mate. Yeah. So I think Robert Holmes had again for a first Doctor story, I think this is a great script, and also the way he wrote Liz Shaw's character, just perfect, mate, for that era. You know, this whole thing, like, because we were in this part of time back then still where women were, you know, there was just equality wasn't there. You know, it certainly, you know, and the way that she was written and the way that Caroline John plays that is just perfect, because she has a little bit of that with the brig. You know, he doesn't outright say it, but he's got that kind of, well, I think this is just nonsense, you know, having to do all this. And she agrees. She's like, you know, little blue men from outer space, and she thinks it's ridiculous as well. And then later on, the sergeant dude, who is it, General Scobie, who gets Scobie, he turns up at the makeshift lab that they put together for her at Unit. He's like, oh, a pretty face around here, you know, when she rolls her eyes and that sort of thing. And so it's not until the Doctor tag teams with her in the lab to figure out all this stuff that's going on. He's complete opposite. You know, he encourages her, you know, he's all about the science, obviously, and everything. So the script, dude, is really tight and really good. Like some of the characters, just so good. Really good stuff.
Totally agree, mate. There is no point in this story that I feel bored or start reaching for the phone. Honestly, and I've seen it so many times. Because that's the thing, when we were talking about reviewing it, I was like, do I even need to rewatch this story? I know it so well. And I thought, no, I will. I'll give it another watch just to make some notes. And I was literally just not glued to the screen, but, I was just so engrossed by it and enjoying it. Because like you said, even you could say, like the first 2 episodes, I wouldn't call them padding, but they're so enjoyable. It's setting the story. It's the Doctor is in bed for most of episode 1, and then he's finally escapes episode 2. But I wouldn't call it padding. It's enjoyable. Everything about it is enjoyable. And like you said, the characters are what help bring it all to life, isn't it? Everybody that's around the Doctor, even though he's not the center of the story for the first 2 episodes in terms of, he's post regeneration, whatever. He's not quite got it together yet after he fell out of the TARDIS, which that blimmin' prop, mate.
Oh no!
Honestly, that first scene always gets me. The lamp is smashed to smithereens. It nearly falls over with him, doesn't it? But by the time it's transported to the unit headquarters, it looks cool. They've like put it on looks like it's on a little ramp or something, or a little stand, and it looks great when it's in the unit headquarters, doesn't it? They've turned the lamp round so you can't see the smash bit, so that looks good. Yeah. But no, it's a cracking script, mate. I absolutely agree. I think Terrance Dicks is he's such a stalwart in terms of Doctor Who's history, and rightly so. He had so much input into so many great stories, didn't he? So I know Robert Holmes wrote it, another fantastic writer, but yeah, what a combination of the two.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because I also had the same feeling. I was like, I've watched this story maybe 7, 8 times over the last decade, I suppose. And it wasn't a million years ago that I watched it last time, probably, I don't know, the beginning of last year. But even though that was over a year ago, I still know it inside out. But I thought, I'll give it another watch because we're going to review it. And mate, it's even some of the scenes that you could consider padding or slowly cut or slowly paced, just got such an atmosphere about them. Like the opening scene where you've got old Sam Seeley, the poacher, out in the woods,
him.
and
woman, get my dinner. He's another one.
I'm hungry. Go and get some.
He'd be given a good old slap now, wouldn't he, for saying?
Well,
get away with that now.
Yeah, go and get some grub on. I'm hungry. You watch your tongue.
What are you doing in that shed?
But do you know what they did? Even though they were like, just a couple that were sort of mixed up in the story. And unfortunately, old Meg Seeley, she gets a comeuppance. Not a comeuppance, but she gets not completely the wrong word, but, she unfortunately gets taken out by one of the Autons. But they're just an old couple that have been caught up in the story. But the way they were written as well, they had a real genuine relatability to them. They're the grumpy old couple in the village who are just known for picking at each other. They've been
together forever.
Exactly, yeah. They've been together forever. He gets on her nerves. She gets on his nerves. And they didn't have to do that for the script. It could have just been a very quick scene with those two. But they had that almost like a backstory without needing a backstory. You just knew instantly what type of old couple they were. Yeah. It's just brilliant stuff, man. Like, so when I watched that stuff, I was like, this is so good.
I was going to say, the poacher, you kind of get his character almost from the get-go, don't you? It's just his look and the way he acts. And I'm smiling because I'm thinking of the scene when he's trying to sell Spear. And they're like, hey, there might be a bit of money in it for me, like. And they're like, no, there isn't. You're under arrest.
Bless him.
Bless him for trying.
Yeah, he's not much of a haggler, is he?
No.
He doesn't know whether to ask or not. So the guy from Unit's like, so what do you know then? Come on, I think that's... yeah, he's like, what do you know?
Something?
I think it's Monroe, isn't it? Captain Monroe. And I might know something. And then you think, right, now he's going to ask for the money. And he's like, so what do you know then? Oh, I'm not sure yet. He's very aloof with it. And then he kind of leans into it, but then, he gets arrested and stuff. So, but those scenes at the beginning, though, in the forest, where it's fairly slow, and he sees the meteorite drop, and he goes over, and it all takes a little while for him to dig it up, and then he sees the unit guy searching for it, and he hides in the bush and comes back. I think it's Dudley Simpson's kind of atmospheric music a little bit in some of it as well that makes it seem a little bit sinister, like what's he uncovered, so even though those scenes, like you mentioned earlier, could be viewed as padding just a tiny bit in some places, I still love the heck out of those because there's such an atmosphere to this story. I think it's a combination, like you mentioned earlier, of all the location stuff, and all that, and Dudley's music. It all comes together.
Music is great.
Yeah.
It's great in this, actually. I have to say, I mean, it may be a little bit sort of the style of the time, but it really suits the story. I love Dudley's score in this. And I think, the scenes like you talk about the poacher's wife, when she goes in the house and the Autons wrecking the place, even those bits are creepy. There's something about those Autons, isn't it? That if you imagine walking in a room and seeing that thing go mad in it, it's creepy.
Yeah, and she's petrified as well, even though she goes for the shotgun.
Oh, yeah, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, which she assumes is going to, and even then she doesn't want to shoot it. She's like, stop, or she gives it plenty of warning and stuff, but bless her, she meets her demise at the hands of the old Auton. But so yeah, dude, I think overall everything put together, it's all great, all story stuff. It hits all the beats for me. Script is great and all that stuff. Let's talk about a few characters. I don't think this needs to be a long review because otherwise, listeners, you're just going to be like, yeah, we know you love it. We know you like it.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, we enjoyed it. Yeah, we can cut to the chase.
So a couple of standout characters for me. Then obviously Nick Courtney, dude,
brilliant
as the brig. Just that relationship with this Doctor is such a great melting pot of just opposing forces. Fantastic. It's like Nick Courtney, the Brigadier, he just wants to get the job done. He doesn't want any faff. He doesn't want the Doctor's, mumbo jumbo science stuff, but he can't do it without the Doctor. So there's this kind of juxtaposition of he's like this, military background, wants stuff to be done by the book, wants stuff done, but at the same time knows that he needs the Doctor because they're dealing with obviously, aliens and whatnot. And then you've got the Doctor who can't be bothered with him and all of his red tape and process and all that stuff. He just wants to go off piste a lot of the time and go and do his own thing. And then you've got that kind of background story that sizzles underneath the whole time about him desperate to get off Earth and repair the TARDIS and stuff. So the way that Nick Courtney riffs off of John Pertwee and the way that, that and how he does that as well, it's fantastic, dude. Really cool stuff, isn't it?
They are brilliant together. I mean, they are just absolute television gold, aren't they, the two of them? And when you get later into the seasons and you add Delgado to it, my gosh, you've got like absolute magic. But yeah, the two of them brilliant. And Nick Courtney's performance cannot be underrated really, because he just gets the character. He plays that slightly pompous, like frustrated Brigadier, but underneath it all, there's this such charm to him that you absolutely love the brig. Him and Pertwee are great together. And like you say, early days for these two, but they just instantly work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's also I get the odd sort of here and there with him and John Pertwee's Doctor, that every now and then the brig knows that he's been stumped by the Doctor, and there are some scenes where he doesn't like it, and there are some scenes where he just gives the Doctor a little grin. And I always think to myself that he's grinning at John Pertwee, not the Doctor. Because the way that John Pertwee delivers the line with that kind of almost sarcastic...
A little smile, just a little hint of a smile.
Yeah, or a little sarcastic smile, passive-aggressive little thing that sort of stumps him, just reminding him subtly that you couldn't have done this without my help. And you can't do this without me. And so the brig sometimes, gets a bit stroppy, pompous, and walks out. Other times, he just the one half of his mouth just smiles at him, and he raises a little eyebrow. And maybe the director's like, I'll leave that in. I think, we directed him to be a bit stroppy at this point and to be a little bit sort of up it. But he just, gives that little smile. And I'm so sure it's because him and John Pertwee got on so well together. I think that I'm pretty sure you've probably heard this as well. They were always down the pub, in between filming and everything. So, oh man, yeah, I never get tired of seeing the Brig and John Pertwee's Doctor together. Just so good.
No, totally, mate. Yeah, I think that their off-screen chemistry certainly enhances their performance, doesn't it? So that's why, because he also got on very well with Tom Baker, didn't he? But although he didn't get many unit stories with Tom, and I don't think he particularly liked, was it him or was it John Levine? I don't know. I don't think there was many stories during Tom Baker's era that Nick Courtney was particularly fond of, in the few that they did. Whereas the Pertwee era, he loved it, didn't he? But yeah, he got on very well with both of them off screen,
Yeah, and it shows. It definitely shows on screen. Yeah, definitely. Okay, and what about so the two guys that were running one guy that was running the factory? So that was a guy called Hibbert, played by John Woodnutt, and he's kind of being mind controlled, isn't he, by a guy called Channing, played by Hugh Burden. So two very different characters there. A couple of them have popped up in other Doctor Who stories. But so you like this scene, don't you, near the beginning where the press all come in and he's watching through the
glass.
Through the glass. It's a bit of a close up, isn't it? And
yeah.
But both of them get it though. I mean, both of them understand exactly what their characters are about, because Channing's got that steely, sort of dead behind the eyes glare throughout the entire story that he's in it, and just, very cold and stuff, and then Hibbert is kind of, you can see at times he's fighting to do the right thing, and he
almost breaks free of the mind spell but then can't.
I thought, what has he got, like a giant wrench or something, or a pole or something? He's about to smash the place up, and then the mind control kicks in, and so a couple of really cool characters there, dude. They were good.
I love these guys. I think they're great because they do, like you said, they do get the characters they're playing, and they don't overdo it, if you know what I mean. Like the whole sinister thing, I mean, I think some people might watch it now. A modern audience might sort of laugh at the starey, eyes and stuff. But I think they're great in it. I absolutely love the scenes with them in, and I like the fact they're made up to look just a bit shiny, as if something's happening. You're not quite sure. Are they Autons? What's going on there? So, yeah, I think they're great together, Hibbert and Channing. Really sort of funny, but also slightly unnerving in their performance, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And John Woodnutt played a few different characters. He was in Frontier in Space, Terror of the Zygons, The Keeper of Traken. Yeah, he was in a...
Oh, yes, he was. I remember him from Zygons. So, yeah, I couldn't place it actually yesterday when I watched it. But, of course, he's the guy in the Scottish tower, castle, whatever it is. Yeah. And then anyone else you want to mention before just quickly mentioning Caroline John again? I think the only other guy that was kind of cool was Captain Monroe, who the Brigadier orders around quite a lot in the story. He was cool. He's in it a lot, that guy as well. And again, could have been a very throwaway character, just another unit guy that's kind of forgettable, but he kind of stands up to the Brig a little bit in a couple of scenes, questions things, and then just gets on with it, really. But again, a supporting cast member that knew exactly what the role was about, really. Yeah, and I think UNIT are quite good in this story, don't you? I think they get stuck in, and we have a couple of shootouts at the factory and stuff. I think it's a good story for UNIT. I think a lot of people don't like the outfits because they do change later on. I've never really had a problem with them, to be honest with you. I don't sit there and think, oh, that beige, but I know that people really dislike what they're wearing in this. But no, I think it's quite a good story for UNIT, mate. I think they have some good moments. Yeah.
And just very, very quickly, Dr. Henderson, the doctor in the hospital in the first ep, he was cool.
Oh, yeah, he gets taken out, doesn't he?
Gets a wallop.
Poor old boy. Yeah, he gets a wallop.
He was cool, though. Yeah. And then alongside John Pertwee, in the latter half of the story, we have Caroline John, so a new companion as Liz Shaw, who's been brought in as like a sort of scientific advisor, I guess, to work alongside the Doctor in the end. But she was, I really like her character in this story, dude. I think she she has that nice kind of, not like a coming full circle, but she starts off very, very pessimistic and cynical about the whole thing. And then slowly as the story goes on, she starts to get her eyes opened up a bit wider about the truth, because she doesn't believe the brig at all about anything that's going on. And then as the story progresses and towards the end, she's kind of on board. She hasn't been in the TARDIS just yet, so she hasn't had that shock to come, but she's pretty much there. And there's some good chemistry between her and the Doctor as well. So obviously not as iconic as like Sarah Jane and the Doctor and stuff, but I really like her as this first story for Caroline John. I thought she had a good one.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I think Liz Shaw is a really underrated companion, to be honest with you. I think, am I right in saying that she only lasted one season because they felt like she was too intelligent or something, or they wanted the companion to go back to being the one that asked the Doctor all the questions rather than solving them? And I don't know if I agree with that, because I think it, like you said, it's quite refreshing, especially, you know, as we're in the 70s and people are there is starting to be a sort of change in how we perceive, you know, women in roles and stuff. And I think it's quite refreshing to have this character that's strong and intelligent. And I don't know if it was John Pertwee or the production team that had a sort of problem with the character being too intelligent, if you know what I mean. But I think they worried there wasn't going to be enough chemistry there. But I think that she's got good chemistry with John Pertwee. I think in this there's some lovely little nods. I love the fact that she's quite, you know, the Brigadier puts down a couple of lines which antagonise her slightly. So she's sort of already sort of keeping him at arm's length. And I like the fact she starts off by keeping the Doctor at arm's length, but soon realises he's a very different character to the brig, and that she thinks, I can get on board with this guy. You instantly, once her guard is dropped because she realises the Doctor is, you know, not typically sort of British, and you know, he's not going to be telling her to put the kettle on and stuff. I like the fact that you can feel a chemistry between the two characters. So I think Liz Shaw's very underrated, mate. I like her. I think, you know, every time I watch her, I feel like I need to see more of her, because she is a companion that I'll admit that gets a bit lost. I often forget about Liz Shaw, to be honest with you.
Yeah, same.
When we're talking about companions, you know, we're saying, oh, you know, like you said, yours, Sarah Jane always comes up, and Katie Manning, and then it's, oh yeah, Liz Shaw. Yeah, you know, it's like always a bit of an afterthought, which is a shame, because I think she's really good. Yeah,
no, I completely agree, dude. And because she finished on a really good story. So Inferno is the last story of this series, isn't it? Of 7. Is it the last one?
Yes, it's the last one, yeah.
Yeah, and she had some great fun with that, because she plays 2 characters. She plays the evil version, doesn't she?
That's right.
Yeah, and she has great fun with that, and she's very cool. So yeah, it's a shame to see her only do 1 season, because she is underrated for sure. I think she's a great companion. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just trying to work out if this was the last story, the first story where the Doctor calls himself John Smith, but apparently it's not. He uses that in the Weird in Space, apparently. I don't remember that, but yeah, because that's the very last line, isn't it? He's like, who are you? Like, I'm Dr. John Smith. I thought it was the first story where he said it, but apparently not.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. A great close off to the story as well, when John Pertwee is basically giving the brig a list of stuff he wants, and he ends up talking about the car. He's like,
the car. I love that bit.
And dude, I absolutely love John Pertwee, man.
Me too.
Do you know, he's so likable. Because
he's cheeky as well, isn't he? He's got that cheeky side to him that, you know, he wants that car. He's like, you can't have that car. Well, can you find me one similar? It's so cheeky.
Yeah, and there are 2 times in this story where he's got this kind of childlike, sheepish behaviour where, you know, he gets busted trying to escape. So he comes out the TARDIS, and the brig's basically like a school teacher, like, what do you think you're doing, sort of thing. And he's like, well, thought I'd give it a go. You know? And then he sits down and he's sort of a little bit forlorn and his head's down a bit, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry. You know, and then the last bit, like we just mentioned, where he's given he's like, yeah, I think I can get all that stuff here. And then he's got this little smile like, oh, really like that car. And the brig's like, oh, that belongs to somebody. You can't have that, not a chance. He's like, well, could you perhaps get one like it? And he's brilliant, man. He's so good.
Does he get Bessie in the next story? I can't remember.
I think it's the one after.
Oh, is it?
I think so.
Which is obviously very similar to it.
Yeah.
I mean, Pertwee is great, mate. And I've said it before. For whatever reason, when people ask me like, "Oh, who's your favourite Doctor?" or you start talking about the Doctors you love, he's never up there when I start talking about Doctors. And I don't know why, because whenever I watch one of his stories, I just think he's brilliant. I just absolutely love him. I think maybe it's down to some of the stories, might be the reason, because some of his are plodders. He does have a lot of 6 and 7 parts, and maybe that's why he's just never at the sort of top of my list when we're talking about Doctors. But I kind of, every time I watch a story of his, mate, I kind of eat my words a bit and think, God, he's absolutely brilliant. I love this Doctor. He should be higher up in my list. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he is. Yeah, he's so good as the Doctor.
He's great, man. Really cool. Yeah. And just on Liz Shaw, this was her very first acting job as an adult. She'd done, she was uncredited as a teenager in a school fight thing in an old film in the 50s. And then in this one, it's her first proper job.
Oh, so, I didn't know that.
Yeah, okay. So she did all right. Okay, if there's nothing left, we'll put a new score or an updated score on this one, dude.
Do you remember what you scored it back in episode 2?
I didn't do scores back then, bud.
Oh, you didn't do scores?
No, so this is fresh.
Go on then, you go first. What are you going to give it?
I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10, dude.
I thought you'd go with a 9.
Yeah, I can't really fault it much, to be honest with you. There's a couple of little bits that, are, no story is perfect, but it's so enjoyable. I will continue to watch this one, once a year probably. It's so good, mate. What about you?
I think the fact if you said to me like I had to watch it again tomorrow, and I would quite happily and sit there and watch it all again, even though I've only just finished watching it, says it all. So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I'm only really knocking a point off because of the Nestine tentacle face pulling at the end, which it slightly takes away from what is an otherwise, I think, almost perfect story. It's it's a stone cold classic in my opinion. I think it's great.
Yes, agreed. Very much agreed. Okay, we only had a few comments on this one, dude.
Oh.
On the old socials. Over on Twitter or X, we had Doctor Who Home says, what an opener, a whole new style of Who, all shot on film. 2, instantly Doctor Who feels more complex and real. The Autons are one of my fave monsters, and I don't think they ever get a more chilling story than this. 9 out of 10.
Yeah. Cool.
Tom says, at Toku Biohuvian says, this is one of the greatest intro stories to the show, characters and the world. I can see why RTD took inspiration from it for the revival episode back in 2005. I'm not a big fan of Pertwee's era, but I agree Spearhead is fun, and I'd like to see a modern take in this era coming up. 10 out of 10.
Oh, 10, nice.
Edward Giluli says, a classic that looks great having been shot on film. The scene with the dummies coming to life on the street and shooting people is all iconic. 8.5. And Chippy T says, my favourite classic Doctor with a great villain. Clear links to the launch of New Who, and one for those dipping into classic Who for the first time. Plus the very underrated Liz Shaw. A 9 from me.
9, cool.
A 9. Over on Facebook, Andrew Stewart says, one of the best post-regen stories behind Deep Breath, and Pertwee does a fantastic job and slips into the role of the Doctor really well, and is brilliantly assisted by Caroline John. I think I like even more because of a break from flipping Tom Baker fatigue of recent. 9 out of 10, no, from Andrew.
9, cool.
My old buddy Nick Gill says, it's an absolutely wonderful story, well filmed, well acted and casted. I had this on video in the 80s in omnibus format, and it actually really works edited into a single uninterrupted story. Can you get that then as one thing?
I don't know that.
That sounds cool. Yeah, so he says not all of the original videos did that. The only thing which lets this down is the Nestine prop at the end and John's fight with it, which is the least believable part of the story. But the rest of the story is so good, I can 100% forgive it. 10 out of 10 without a doubt. If only the rest of the season had the budget for the same filming treatment, it would have been hands down the best season of the classic era.
Oh, true, yeah.
Yeah, good words there, Nick. Thank you very much. Jeff Waddle says, certainly one of the best new Doctor introductions. Simple idea of duplicates, good unit stuff, intro to the wonderful Liz Shaw, and some memorable scenes. The actual Nestine looked better in the book. 8 out of 10.
Cool.
Martin Arnold, my dear Lethbridge Stewart, I give it 8 eyebrows out of 10. Really solid story. Charlie Turner, 10 out of 10. Need I say more? Mark Hugill Still looks great today. Autons are miles better than the ones in Rose. Channing is suitably creepy and oddly quiet intro for John Pertwee's Doctor when the TARDIS lands. Great Auton sound effects, plenty of inventive camera shots. Overall, so good that Rose and the 1996 TV movie borrowed elements from. 9 out of 10.
What goes on with that TARDIS sound effect when it lands, by the way, mate? It sounds like they've reversed the tape by mistake. It sort of goes...
Oh, when he tries to take off?
No, when it lands.
At the very beginning.
When it lands at the beginning, the sound effect sounds like a rewound tape for about half a second.
Yeah, it's a bit off, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, where was I? Darren Sykes. A great intro to the Third Doctor. It successfully lays the foundations for a more earthbound Doctor during his exile. Memorable moments include the shop mannequins coming to life. So good that RTD used the idea when he brought back for Rose. I'll knock off half a mark for the gurning when the Nestine tries to strangle the Doctor, but 8 out of 10.
Cool.
And the last couple here, Aaron Moody. 10 out of 10, looks great on Blu-ray. One of the best opening Doctor stories ever. If only the BBC had a budget for all film back then. Think of how good it would have all looked. Richard Hardman, definitely my fave classic intro story. Shame about the Nestine prop, but otherwise top notch. 9 out of 10. Also, there's one more. Alex Bobbins, Life in Plastic. It's fantastic. 10 out of 10. And Douglas Stanford Grandy, what a cracking name. Quite a long review, so I won't read all of it, but just says a pretty good story for the Third Doctor. It's one of my fave debut stories, and goes on to say, hold on, fun fact, when this story first aired on my local PBS station, and opening and closing credits on a couple of episodes was missing, and all there was a blank green screen as the theme played out, and according to the station, it's how they received the film from the distributor, Lionheart. Future airings were then corrected. So a little glitch there.
Didn't know that. Never heard that before.
It goes on to give it 8 window shop dummies out of 10.
Cool.
Some great scores there, dude. The average has got to be a 9, right? It's got to be a...
Yeah, I think, 8.5 or a 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty high.
Good stuff. So that was Spearhead from Space. Thank you very much, you lot, for sending in your thoughts and reviews. Next week, dude, we're back to the dreaded, terrible, awful Fourth Doctor. What story have we got next week?
Yeah, so we're going from this classic to Nightmare of Eden.
Come on now. Come on. I haven't seen it in ages. Haven't seen it.
No,
in a
this
while.
is the Mandrels. Is that what they're called?
The Mandrels, yeah.
Yeah. No, I've not watched this in like forever.
Yeah. This will be interesting next week. But alrighty. I think we'll wrap it there, dude, for episode 394.
Alrighty.
Thank you, dear Big Blue Box listener, for listening to another episode. That was 394. And if you're a new listener here, welcome to the Big Blue Box. It's great to have you here. If you're an old grizzled ancient, then welcome back. It's good to have you all listening to us waffle about Doctor Who, of course. Some great scores there on the old Spearhead from Space. Absolutely love that story, as you can tell. So we'll probably be watching that again, probably within the year, I would say.
Can't wait for that season 7 to come out as a Blu-ray set. Can't wait.
Yep. Next week, as Adam said, it's the Fourth Doctor's turn again for Nightmare of Eden. So get your DVDs out, your BritBox, whatever, iPlayer, get it watched. We'll be asking for your thoughts and opinions as always. In the meantime, make sure you're following or subscribing to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. We put a new episode out every week. Or most weeks, every Friday, and we have a roundtable episode every month with the writing team as well. So make sure you're following us for all that good stuff. You can listen for free on the website as well, bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk, and you can check out all of the reviews and articles from the writing team. We're on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter, the odd thread here and there, and Instagram. Links on the website for that, and we have a very cool free Discord server, so do that as well. And also, don't forget to remember to check out Adam's channel on YouTube. It is The Geek's Handbag.
The Geek's Handbag. Go check out my YouTube channel.
Yay.
Also on all the socials.
Go and do all the things, basically. And until next week, for episode 395. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember,